Hajas and Hallro coming in hot.
Back at it again, and wait, there's more. Tectonic shifts happening in the High Low No Show Mankind Madness podcast. What's this just in? More entries.
It's the Party Crashers.
We already gave you guys 64, but 5 more for a total of 69.
Even number 69.
Why not? It's more egalitarian that way. You give and you get. And just like life, you have some unexpected entries. So, you know, like life is what happens when you're busy making plans. And our wisdom and our forethought, and we have mentioned this in prior broadcasts, we have a couple, you know, more wild cards, would you say, but just kind of really just interlopers, party crashers, you know? And what say you? Because this is the Hajas and Hallro podcast, so we do what we want.
Yeah.
You don't like that? Your bracket's busted? Boo fucking who.
There's nothing to overlook. No rock overturned or underturned.
Undersold, oversold. The fact of the matter is this. We have some really important entries that both Hajas and Hallro, aside from this podcast, are responsible for. The wonderful opus book, The Rotund Pelican, my autobiography in the form of a children's book, you know, like a picture book, is going to bounce into the Discovery bracket right there at a 15 seed. How about that? 15 seed. So right out the gate, the Rotund Pelican is going to take on the Americas, the Discovery of the Western Hemisphere versus the Rotund Pelican. How you like that, people? Now, if you don't know, go check it out. TheRotundPelican.com. It's a cute, gregarious, bulbous, round mound or rebound type of bird who takes upon himself to circumnavigate the world, kind of like what our friend Columbus and the rest of the pioneering, discovering European squads did when they came across the Atlantic Ocean. Apropos, we decided, hey, why not just throw it in there? 15 seeds. Eat your heart out. It's kind of playing along with the March Madness, because to tell you the truth, they have play-on games as well. So this is our version of the play-on games. And it's a little bit of entropy, chaos, because humanity is filled with these things. Things stay on course and then bang. Earthquake. Things stay on course and then bang. Famine. Archduke Ferdinand gets shot. World War I. Things like that. This is what we give to you on the Hajas and Hallro podcast.
Yeah. And we have another entry in the Discovery bracket.
Why not?
Going up against Mathematics.
At the 11 seed. It's got company. How about games? Card games and board games. Card games, think, you know, poker or rummy or baccarat, or, you know, there's a game called War. I mean, who knows? 21. It doesn't matter. Or chess, or checkers, or Monopoly. I mean, humans have forever figured out games like this. What, Go? They have Go out east. They have Chinese checkers. They have Mahjong, dominoes. The list goes on and on. Humans need to be entertained. So what say you? We'll entertain you. Since math, everybody hates math, it's not entertaining.
No. Math is involved in most of these games, so we'll see if they can use that to their upper hand. But
math is on shaky ground.
It's on shaky ground against games every day of the week.
The 11 seed.
At the number 11
you have to
seed.
get in where you fit in. Theory of displacement. There can be only one little Highlander theory there.
Moving over to the invention category.
Yeah.
You can't have a hammer without a nail, and you can't have a tiny house without a hammer and a nail. So the Eddie Hages Tiny House Experience gets into the biggest dance as a number 15 seed.
Seems only right.
Monumental feat for humanity and architectural prowess, combining the finest of the archaeology or architecture discipline, engineering feat, and putting it in a pint-sized box,
and a cultural phenomenon at that.
Yes.
So all that up against the hammer and nail. So you have the prototype, the archetypal hammer and nail versus the best version of what the hammer and nail did. No offense to Jesus and the crucifixion. I guess I'm wearing that one out. It's fucking sacrilegious, but who knows? So have that, a little bit of invention. You know, Hajas took it upon himself to build himself a tiny house and to live inside a tiny house. So not only is it an invention, but it's a feat of strength. He involves his community to help involve it, so it takes a village. And it's a standing monument to that. So
and everyone needs a place to live in.
Could be the 9th wonder of the world.
It absolutely is. If not the number 1 wonder of the world.
So Hammer and Nail's got company over there in the 15 seed in the invention bracket. So just when you thought you were safe moving that one forward, wait, there's more.
There's more. And the paradigm shifts.
Why not? The periodic table seems semi-redundant or erudite or too specific of an example for our purposes. So we decided, hey, why not throw something else in there, huh? And we had decided on a predetermined date that politics/tribalism, more importantly, tribalism at first, nationalism, politics, belonged on this list somewhere. And we just pushed it right in there, as politics is wont to do. I mean, shit, politics wades into situations it shouldn't be all the time, especially at cocktail parties and bars. Don't be the first person to talk politics there.
Love, hate, all the way.
Right.
And they are going to be bringing their game against the periodic table.
Lord knows they like to bring their game. They wag the dog. They politic. Politics makes some people sick. In fact, it's what necessitates sports, and a lot of people don't want to pay attention to politics, so they watch sports. Or you can watch podcasts, or entertainment, or media. Who knows?
Yes, will the scientific method beat a human construct that is all too human? We shall find out.
Right. And why not? And if you don't like it, go home. I think we move over to the wild card. You know, we really want not to include any individuals on this list, any human individuals on this list. But if we thought about one man, one clan of man, who made the biggest impact on humanity.
Yeah, he's a 10%er.
He's the old school. He's a real G. He's an OG. He's a Genghis. The Khans, straight out of Mongolia. His bloodline, his DNA is in 10% of the world, as far as I can tell. It is in 1 out of every 2 or 3 people from East Asia. They did such a good job of becoming warlords and dominant kingdoms that it stands the test of time in his genealogy and his descendants. So that's kind of fun, and up against art. You know, there's an art to that as well, and I'm sure Genghis was a fan of art, so it'll be tough for him, but maybe it won't, because he ruled with an iron fist and kind of a really ruthless man. And he had a lot of kids. So he wasn't against birth control. It would have been funny to put Genghis against birth control, now you think of it, but maybe he'll have a chance if he makes it that far.
Art has a rough road ahead of him, playing Genghis Khan and then following up. Even if they win, they go right into a battle with war.
Right. So that's a tough bracket, but that's just the way this thing materialized, and there was no premeditation here, really. This is all happening very kind of impromptu. And that's what we like about it, because really, no one has any right to be any better or worse on this list, besides fire in the wheel, maybe. So, as a wild card, think about wild cards and then just throw another one in there. You got Genghis.
Yes. That rounds out the 69.
The 69, man. We got 5 more for you. So this is how it's going to go. Hajas and I are going to highlight the matchup, Rotund versus the Americans. And this is going to be our inaugural game. The tip-off that happens before the rest of the games, just like in real life, where they have a few playing games before the real tournament starts. We want to see who's sitting pretty in the 15 seed in Discovery bracket. So here it goes. Absolutely fucking nothing. Burp, as my friend Rotund Pelican would say. He was a good lad, but he liked to eat too much. And, he took it personally when he ate the entire Fish Fest, and he ran away, and he flew all the way from Del Beach around the world. He met some interesting people out there in Isolation Island, and they convinced him that sharing was caring, and he was going to share his story, just like some of the gospel and the prophets around the world, and he made it all the way back. So, in fact, he has circumnavigated the world.
Whereas the Americas, they circumnavigated.
They were left to be circumnavigated too, right? They were just laying in wait. I think one of the big arguments against the Americas and for rotund is that the Americas had already been discovered. Am I right? I mean, it wasn't to credit to Columbus, or whoever else, Amerigo Vespucci and the great discoverers, the conquistadors, Vasco de Francisco, Vasco da Gama, all those people. Hey, the Americas were already here. Ask the Native Americans, ask the Inuits, ask the Eskimos, ask the Aztecs, the Mayans, all them others. They've been here. So that ain't no discovery. I bet you Rotund Pelican gets down with them too, as long as.
Well, it looks like the Pelicans are out. It's an early first half lead, halfway through the first half. It's 20 to 15.
They're shooting from downtown. I mean, it's a big. They're steamrolling the Americas if we can't help it. I mean, certainly the Americas were, if I give them credit, a great economical boon for their previous powers. But basically, that just means they're being exploited until they decided to, free themselves from their
tyranny,
own bit of tyranny, tribalism.
Which help establish America with all the
Canada, America's
freedoms that we have
Mexico,
over in
America's
this country.
Beard. 1776, anyone? Well, that's not the point. The point is simply the land mass that is the Americas and the discovery that it was a tectonic shift. But really, the Rotund Pelican, he flies over all of that. So if you can't stop the Rotund Pelican from scoring, what are you going to do? And he becomes better throughout the book. So if the Americas are falling behind,
the conquistadors just slaughtered an entire nation of first people,
and the Rotund Pelican would just become friends with those people. He would garner the respect.
Yeah, the Rotund they're opening up the game right now.
I mean, think about the conquistadors, and they just brought disease, they brought famine, they brought warfare, they brought fire water. I mean, that's not good. Rotund brought a smile and a burp, and he figured out new methods of bringing food to all the impoverished peoples, and he even helped Curmudgeon the Crab chef up food so that everybody could be a part of the feast. And one part of the game with the Americas was about harnessing and taking away, but Rotund was all about bringing to the table and sharing.
Yeah, he saved the whole he basically might have saved the island. He almost killed the island because he was eating all the food.
Right.
At one point, and then he saved the island.
Right. He just turned it around. Had himself a ship.
There was no sharing with the conquering of the Americas.
Right. They didn't share. They were just taking.
Well, they shared some shitty land spaces with the Indians.
Right.
They get a point. They get 1 point for that.
Right. So if you live by the three, die by the three. Rotund scoring at will. I think. Sharing is caring, but also you got to fake it until you make it. Rotund finally made it, and you know what? Here's the pièce de résistance. His bill in his beak gets bigger and bigger when it's time for dinner. So just when you thought you had him pegged, just when you said, I can see Rotund for what he is, he digs down deep and he fires from his gut with horrendous burps, and then he gathers himself and scoops out fish in his belly. In his beak, and keeps it for the rest of the week. From cheek to cheek.
As admirable as the Americans are, they're just not. They just didn't bring a game today.
I guess not. They fell on hard times. Maybe it had something to do with the flu or the famine and disease that they brought from Europe. The Americas, they just couldn't hang with some of those European the advents that the Europeans brought across and their imperialism. It wasn't just the firewater, but certainly a lot of their food. They're not their foodborne, but their airborne diseases, and they just eradicated people. And the buffalo too. I mean, the Rotund's good with the buffalo, but I don't think the bison is good with
Americas.
With the Americas.
No. I mean, it was a great battle of two explorers.
Unforeseen, two explorers, exactly.
What's unforeseen is probably none of you have probably even heard of the Rotund Pelican out there, and yet they are in the big dance with the 64.
Upset alert. We'll just pencil that one in. There you go, Rotund. And remember, Rotund is another way of saying large and bulbous and round. And guess what else is round? The world. And guess what else is round? thought bubbles. And you just think about it and you'd be like, wow, if I could be like Rotund.
I don't think anyone foreseen that matchup going on. But moving on, another game about to tip off. The Eddie Hajas Tiny House
bracket, way out there in Invention Land
is playing Hammer and Nail, and
wow,
and
it's a spiky situation for Hammer and Nail. If they can't find pay dirt, if they miss the stud, they're just going to punch right through, aren't they?
The tip goes to Hammer and Nail. It starts the whole build process. So they're off scoring, off fast break, off the tip.
But wait, Hajas steals.
But Hajas is going to use many hammer and nails. Actually, he didn't even use too many hammer and nails. He used mostly screws because they have more binding ability, which outdoes the nail. And I don't think the nail is going to be able to get away from being drawn in by that big ass screw.
Hammer and Nail's getting hammered by the Hajas Tiny House. Like I said, the Hajas Tiny House seems like it is perhaps the greatest application of the hammer and nail. And then you find out there's no nails involved to begin with. It's all screws. Because we want it to last, people. We're not talking about 10 penny nails. We're not talking about nail guns here. We're not talking about stepping on a nail and getting a tetanus shot. We're talking about the Hajas Tiny House.
And then there's more. The Hajas Tiny Houses, they're having a strong first half with the economic and sustainable design of the shelter. Unlike McMansions that they've had their heyday, but it's just too damn expensive. And with all the environment or all the entertainment that we have out there,
right,
like this wonderful podcast that we're bringing a bunch of information to you, who the hell wants to take care of a big ass house when you can just spend a couple minutes a day and then you have all this free time to do a podcast or listen to the podcast?
The whole minimalism movement. Think about that. I mean, you're a vanguard in many movements just by the proxy of that. And we can take it mobile. So if you don't like where the current, hilltop that you're resting on, go find another hilltop. As precarious, it's slowing down the Hajas Tiny House if you had to think about moving that thing. So it's grinding to a halt. We're playing a half-court game now with plenty of passes around the perimeter, trying to find a place to score, trying to find that perfect place to place the Hajas Tiny House. But once it's there, it's posted up in the paint, and oops, what's this? We got a mouse in the house, and Hajas and Hallro and Hajas Tiny House is going to take it for granted and slam dunk it.
Mouse trap.
Right.
Mouse gone. Hammer and nail, I don't know. I don't know if it'd be really tough to kill the mouse with just a hammer and nail.
Then you're right. But you can definitely either escape the mouse, or you can run over the mouse, or you can trap the mouse.
And the nice thing about a tiny house, there's not a ton of places for the mouse to
Good
hide.
point. It's it's an economical space, but no wasted space. That's the other thing. It's no wasted movements with the tiny house. The hammer and nail, sometimes you miss a nail, you got to take it out, you got to put it back. You bend a nail, you got to take it out and put it back. You miss a nail on the stud, you got to put another nail in. A lot of wasted movements there.
Yeah, I just don't. As far reaching as the hammer and nail, and as many things it's touched, it just has a very singular moment, or a very singular way it interacts with humanity. Whereas Eddie Hajas Tiny House is just a whole slew of players and applications. They can score. We've already seen them score in the paint. They can score from downtown because you can just drive it anywhere you want to go.
Right, they drive to the rim. I mean,
they're a steal when it comes to electricity bills. They're top 10 in every statistical category.
And if there's one thing I've learned, Hajas, when you're trying to avoid the upset, you can't let them hang around. And the thing about the Eddie Hajas Tiny House is it likes to hang around. So the Hajas Tiny House built a lead. They sustained the lead. They hung around when Hammer and Nail made a comeback. But a lot of wasted movement on Hammer and Nail's part cost them the game.
Yeah. And they have the staying power. And they are in the main bracket now.
There you go. You got the Hajas Tiny House taking out Hammer and Nail with the right to play Star Navigation, the 2 seed, in the Invention bracket. How you like them apples? Well, if you like the Hammer and Nail, you're not going to like it at all. But that's life, right? You weren't invited.
That's it. We're moving down to the paradigm shifters right now.
Changes. Well, we got a change for you there. That's politics and tribalism versus the periodic table. And we were just talking about this at our break. But the periodic table just might be too erudite for the layman. You want to think about it. You think about every element that takes to create you or that surrounds you, but you couldn't name it on the table. And then they give it such crazy names you couldn't even figure out which one's which. You want to know why one is 0.1 or 0, like helium or H2O. I mean, I think that's the extent of modern day's concept of the periodic table is H2O. And it just falls short, So they are a dinosaur, and although they're used, and there's plenty of people out there figuring out, tables and biped, and trying to match stuff up using chemistry. Think about politics.
I don't know. They might be coming out of the gate slow too. Politics, they make a bunch of red tape to get any damn thing done.
You're right. The bureaucracy.
They create major splits and divides, as you can see in America right now.
They might even be able to play with each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, it's a low scoring game. Ball. Yeah, they're missing all their shots.
It is a low scoring game.
But
it's a little snooze fest down there in the paradigm shift bracket.
Yeah, but politics might be coming on a little stronger. They are getting people involved. And
well, the thing about politics is a lot of hot air. So they're best, they might take the air out of the room, but they're gonna put the air in the basketball. They're giving it a lot of bounce. They're gonna take their time. They're gonna find their shot, and when they do, they're gonna drain it, and they're gonna lay waste to a bunch of their defiant base, because the politicians are out there for one thing, and that's their lobbyists. And if the lobbyists are sure about one thing, they're going to get their man, and they're going to get their matchup.
They are. But the periodic table, that little number actually means the number of electrons that are in that molecule.
Right.
So helium's number 2.
Okay.
Hydrogen's number 1. One
right.
electron. And with that table, they can figure out how to put different...
To bind things.
And bind things, and why they bind, and how the electrons, they lose one, give one to another, H2O type of thing. I can't do the math on it, but...
It's been a long time for me. Wow, Eddie's putting me to shame.
Definitely organized...
Periodic table's taking a big step up right now.
They definitely have organized the science community into like whatever, an encyclopedia of elements. And
right, in the ages of ones and zeros, Hajas is taken to the next level with the periodic table. And the politics and tribalism is playing catch up. And the only way to figure it out is a smear campaign against the periodic table. The smear campaign is coming out, and then politics is going to take a step up over the periodic table if they get a chance. If the public believes them, and if it's a believable image. Or if the public just doesn't want to believe in the periodic table, even better. That's even better for politics.
Yeah, I don't think they care. That's the thing. I think I saw 3 people in the stands of this game.
Right.
One had O for oxygen on his T-shirt.
Right.
And they just don't. There's no backing. I mean, everyone's bitching and complaining about politics, but the people they're there to watch them play.
Right. Let them play. And politics likes to play. They wag the dog. They Game of Thrones, they Game of House of Cards, you name it. What is it? The White House, the old Martin Sheen, first president. What is it? Harrison Ford, Air Force One. Everybody loves a president, and that's part of it. Is it's very presidential. So Secret Service might have to take out 1 or 2 elements just because they look like shady characters, and politics is going to sit there and hold the ball probably. No shot clock. The politics decided they put a furlough. The politics isn't working right now. Shot clock's off. They're dribbling the ball out, and time's running out in this game if we can't figure out what to do for the periodic table. I
just don't think really people care about the periodic table.
No one cares about the periodic table.
And the main thing of the whole bracket and the whole game is the impact on humanity. Though it might have an impact, that politics are just a little too strong. They just have a little bit too much backing from the people. Love them or hate them.
Speaking of backing, politics just pulled the cord on a bunch of funding for the national endowments, and education. So now there will be less chemists and people studying science, technology, engineering, and math. So there you go. I mean,
they pretty much
chemistry's on life support right now. They need a last ditch effort in order just to tie the game and go to overtime. I don't know if they have it now.
That cord's pulled. Funding's gone. They unfortunately they had to forfeit the game with 4 players.
Right, they couldn't field a team anymore.
They couldn't field no money to field the team. Politics goes on.
You know, hydrogen's lighter than oxygen or helium, right? That's part of it.
I'll tell you what's interesting so far of these games, and that's why you can't sleep on any of these last. They might be called the last 5 in, but three in a row already, Hall.
3 for 3. Wow! Just think about that. It's not even like we had it out there, but we're just kind of hammering these things out, and it just doesn't seem like it's periodic tables day.
Yeah, it's not.
And we got to we digress and transfer over to the wild card region where we have a game already in progress. That's Genghis Khan whipping the shit out of the art world. Genghis Khan is making babies an art form in and of itself. The Khans have basically turned Mongolia and the Eastern Steppe into a canvas of warfare.
Well, you never know what's going to happen when a guy has so much revenge in his heart is going to do. I mean, Genghis, little history on Genghis. His mother and father and pretty much his whole tribe was murdered by, I think it's Chinese people.
Right.
And he just vowed at a super young age to avenge and take over the world. And he had big visions of he didn't want to take over China. He wanted to take over the entire world.
Go and see the world, young man.
The art world. But
well played. Yeah, Vincent Van Gogh, go cut that ear. You're not going to scare away Genghis Khan. In fact, he ain't trying to hear that, see? So, I mean, Genghis Khan, just in sheer numbers of Khans, and they're prone to like steamrolling teams. I mean, really, they lend no mercy. Men and boys are gone. This is a man's game, and if there's no men and boys, they're just going to take your women and children and adopt them.
Well, Art's putting Pablo Picasso in. Interesting. No one even thought he could play the game.
Yeah.
And right now, Khan, he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what to think of these paintings and photos. They're still right now. Genghis Khan's army is at a standstill. They don't know what to do. Art's Pablo's having his way with them right now.
Well, let's take a look. We've got 5 Khans on the floor versus Dali, Van Gogh, Picasso, Monet, and Shepard Fairey of the Obey, has a posse. And only Shepard Fairey is taking his business by storm. And he's spray painting and making a name for himself up and down the court. Meanwhile, these other guys are slow and deliberate in their artistic process. And you just can't make enough points that way.
I don't know. I think they have some tricks up their sleeves. I think Dolly right now he's playing the melting time game, and
the clock's disappearing.
The clock's
right
disappearing,
off that tree.
and in times it's a lot. It's like like most of our lives, like time is something hard to fathom. It's hard to articulate time. And in Dolly's, he's just showing what the hell it's all about. Melting time into this physical reality. Khan doesn't know what hit him right now.
Right, but Khan, fortunately
they're
enough,
making a hard game out of it.
Fortunately enough for the Khans, he's got lots of substitutions. In fact, so many substitutions they'd be overrun. While Dali melted the clock, Khan's just substituted about 5 fresh legs, and they're prepared to run all over the art world.
Yeah, and while that was going on, Khan was procreating a lot of a nation.
And he stole half of the Chinese dynasty's Ming vases, and he's basically just inherited, plenty of the artwork, the results of all the artwork he stole. So it's basically he stole some points. It's a 4-point play. He took the art from them and scored on his own basket. So that puts them out to a commanding 105 to 5-point lead that really is impossible to overcome if you think about it. And Genghis is not done. I mean, he's just a steamroller. And when he's done and kicked the bucket, his kid's going to take up the mantle, and he's going to go for another couple years. And then his kid's going to go for another couple years. So I don't know if there's any shot for the art world to recover from that, since it takes artists so long to gain some recognition and notoriety. This is no place for a protege, no place for a prodigy either.
No, it's match. They just created a matchup problem. That's why you can't play the Genghis Khan tribe lightly. You can't play them slow.
You know who tried to address this is Bill and Ted's Wild Adventure. And they brought Genghis Khan on. You saw what he did to the mall in San Dimas. So I mean, it's really kind of problematic. You can put Genghis Khan, you can take the Khan out of the the Mongol out of the steeps, but you can't take the steeps out of the Khan or whatever it is. And it's a steep hill to climb for anybody but a Khan.
Yeah, and it's time running down. The art world they just don't have enough to keep up with. Maybe another year they'd have beat Genghis. I don't know, but that's why they play the game.
No buzzer beaters in this one. That was a sound defeat of art by Genghis Khan, and you can look forward to the matchup now with our friend Genghis Khan showing people just what he means with the art of war, because he's going to take on war itself. And if he wasn't the best warlord out there, well, the only thing that can beat him is the advent of war itself.
They can beat him at his own game.
In humanity's mankind madness. The greatest achievements? Well, Genghis Khan, there you go. You are a single human entry into the greatest bracket of all time.
Yes. And we're going back to the Discovery
what
bracket
else do we have to discover
for the
here?
last 5 game of the evening. Games playing math.
Now, math, just being mathematics, being 1 plus 2, it's pretty rudimentary. It's essential, So there's one basket for math.
Well, you had the abacus. Like, we're talking about a moment of history when, long division was hard.
Right.
I don't even know how the hell abacus works. I don't even
fractions. Abacus just moves things on different levels. So this bead is 10, this bead is 5, that bead's 1. So you just move it over. It's just a scale at some level of
But it was like the equivalent of having a calculator. The calculations when the abacus came out, revolutionized.
Because they're a placeholder for numbers. You didn't have to think about the number you had before because there it was sitting for you. And so a lot of points for that abacus. Yeah, I mean it was a rudimentary calculator, and it was genius. And
historic.
I'm sure there's still plenty of Chinese shops that use the abacus. We're gonna have to give them a couple points for that. Fact of the matter that everybody in there, can't get out of school unless you take some math. So math is a pretty resounding, as far as this point, a candidate in the game, they've got plenty of players.
Games are going to have to start bringing their A game.
And if they start multiplying their points, you're in deep shit. But what's this? Games. I think the chess game just took a pawn all the way to the other side of the court and made him a king. So now you have queen even better. You have 2 queens on the board for games, plus a domino, a double 6 domino motherfucker, an ace of spades.
So look at the people that are even just playing for games. You have the highest intellectuals playing chess and
trying to be
enhancing and involving their mind, to the gang slinger down in your ghetto neighborhood
doing
slamming
2 for 5,
some dominoes,
or selling crack 2 for 5.
Yeah.
So there's some math there for you, but math is going back and forth because math is going to get theirs. For every one, there's got to be 2. So we're going to back and forth game here. Mathematics, it's just once we get to calculus and algebra, past algebra to trigonometry and calculus, people are going to start falling by the wayside. They just can't bring enough to compete with something like poker. And here comes poker. You're going to have a 5-card flush, and then and then a draw. We're just going to take 2 more and turn that into a royal flush, and those just mean points for games.
But on the backside of poker is the psychological warfare that you get in games. Texas Hold'em, it's not just about the cards that you have. It's how you play them. Can you psych someone out? Math doesn't have that in their artillery.
Math is cut and dry.
It's just cut and dry. This is what it is. They don't have there's no trick up the sleeve. There's interesting things going on with calculus. But it's still, they're very calculated.
Now, certainly,
hence the name calculus.
Right, math is involved with some of these games. 3-card Monte, I can think of, or the shell game where you're trying to figure out where the shell is under 3 cups, the sleight of hand. But those kind of magic tricks lend themselves more to entertainment and a human, involvement, like a coming of age where you need to know things about yourself and the environment. And math can only teach you so much. They can teach you 1 and 1 is 2. And if 6 was 9, like Jimi Hendrix posited, then maybe they'd have a chance. But that's exactly what math is going to need to do now, is turn that 6 into a 9 so they can compound their points and make a better case against our friend games.
I think they've played all their best shots so far. I don't know what else they. I mean, we haven't even got in. We haven't even brought board games off the bench.
Right,
and
board
maybe they're
games
just
are
gonna
sitting right there on the
maybe
bench.
they're just gonna leave them there. Just keep them
Rest 'em up.
rested.
No injuries for that. I mean,
for the next game. But right now, I don't see math coming back around and taking over this game.
Not to save humanity.
Games.
Not to save humanity, because the fact of the matter is this. Math is child's play at some level. And most of the people we're talking to, that's exactly what they do. You're going to have 5 fingers. You can't count on 2 hands, but you can hold powerful cards in those hands. Yeah. You can shake them up, and you can make all the money you need to go back and forth on a craps game. Is Vegas built more on games or on math? I mean, I think, Vegas is probably built more on math. That's compounding the situation, isn't it? Because the house never loses, and that's math.
But without the game.
Wow. Tectonic shift back to math. But no one would be there spending their money without the game.
Yeah.
So maybe Vegas helps and hurts math's case right here.
I think they do, and I think time's running out. And
time is definitely
I'm just
running
not
out.
finding anything in the math realm that's going to push this. They're down by 10 right now.
After all, we are playing a game, and to me, that pushes it over, the final decider. We are playing a game in and of itself. And we're talking about board games. This is kind of, a board game. It's a trickle-down game. Play a game. We used to play this when we were kids, when you played, like, MASH, like mansion, apartment, shack, house, or something like that, Like,
I used to play a lot of paper ball growing up. You roll up some paper and a ball and play with it.
Right.
It's another
paper
great
ball,
game.
Right? It was like, here you go. From downtown.
And games.
Wow.
Games.
Shattered. Your brackets are shattered. Bracket busters from the very first. Before we even tipped off in this entire Mankind Madness, we threw 5 huge wild cards at you, and just because we were feeling saucy, we decided, hey, we'd seen enough of these other long-standing entries into paradigm shifts, wild cards, inventions, discoveries, and we said, hey, to hell with those. Let's put a few in there that no one's expecting, no one's seen come, because after all, that's how life is. And since not enough of you guys responded, that's what you get. If you want to be putting more effort into it and you want to see more out of us, chime in. Hajas and Hallro at gmail.com. We're on Twitter, Hajas in Hallro. We're at Instagram. We're on Facebook, YouTube. Find us. Get a bracket.
Fill it out. Send it in. As an exciting first night of matchups.
Right, we had to roll up our sleeves, take off the ties, get down to it. He grew a mustache just for you guys. This is a fantastic exercise, and this is the results of months worth of preparation. It just shows you how tenuous a grasp some of these things have on advancing in Mankind Madness. Because you could be gone in a heartbeat. You don't bring your best game, you don't bring your A game, well, Z's to you, buddy. You're sleeping with the fishes.
Yeah.
That's it. Hallro and Hajas and Hallro.
High, low, and no show.
And some of them were no, and they gotta go. So do we. Till next show, where you tune in for the rest of some matchups on the Discovery and the Invention brackets. And you guys can pick your favorites, and we'll just, if you give us some input, we'll share them with you. Otherwise, to hell with you.
Stay high.
Stay low. Don't
Be a
go.
show.
Adios. Da-da-dee-ba-dee-doo-da.